20 to 8, Tuesday morning, 28 July here on East Coast Radio. So we've spoken to the South African Weather Service and we know that we have a yellow level 2 warning for snow, which is a mild warning for moderate snow, and then a yellow level 4 for disruptive rain. Slight chance of very disruptive rain. That's what's been told to us, but there's also this word called cutoff low. And now, I have PTSD with the word cutoff low. Annette Botha is a meteorologist at Vox Weather. She's with us this morning. Good morning, Annette.
Good morning. Hope you're staying warm.
We are wrapped up. It's very unusual for Durban, KZN. We have to ask our neighbours, do you have warm clothes?
Yeah, people usually flock to KZN this time of the year, hey?
And then, okay, so last time we had really bad rains and we had bridges washed away and everything, and everyone was asking around, how come we weren't warned? And we was like, we were warned. There was this thing called, it was a cut-off low. What is this thing of a cut-off low to the layman?
So to just explain it in very simple terms, obviously we've got an atmosphere that goes up very high, and about 5 to 6 kilometers above the atmosphere, that's like what we call the upper levels of the atmosphere. We usually have this westerly flow above South Africa, and it's quite normal. It just flows, the air just flows, from west to east, and then sometimes you get a little bit dip in the flow, and that's when you see a trough. That's because of a low pressure system, and then you get a little bit more of like a mountain peak of the flow, and that's a reaching high, like a high pressure system. So cutoff low is basically an area of low pressure in this upper levels that basically cuts itself off from this normal westerly flow, and it forms a perfect circle, in the upper levels. So the wind circulates clockwise around this low pressure system, and because of this, it starts moving on its own. So it's not being moved by the normal flow that's quite fast in the upper levels. And then it starts moving extremely slow, and that's why we usually have heavy rain or extremely cold temperatures and snow accompanied by the system. It's because it's actually now on its own and very slow moving, and it's got a very cold course. So that being said, I personally, as a meteorologist, my opinion, this is not a cut-off low. It did not completely cut off in the upper levels. It's still a very deep upper level trough. So it's got that dip, but it's not forming a perfect circle, maybe for like a moment, but it's not a textbook cut-off low. Okay. The thing about this system is actually south of it, in the lower levels of the atmosphere, in the ocean, we've got what we call a Atlantic ridging high. So it's a high pressure system sitting south of the country. Now, this beautiful high is the reason for the rain because it's helping this area of low pressure. It's feeding it with more moisture from the ocean, the Indian Ocean, and that's why we are seeing this onshore flow of heavy rain that's mainly going to be over the coastal regions, I would say, of the wild coast. So that is actually the danger area.
Okay, so this is something that we often see during the winter period here in South Africa, in Southern Africa. How often are we seeing cut-off lows, and does this affect the temperatures in terms of our ocean here in Durban?
So because it's an upper level system, it doesn't really have any effect on our ocean's temperatures. But as I've mentioned, this high pressure is actually taking the moisture and the heat from our ocean, and it's feeding the system. So that's a big role that it's playing. These types of systems are very normal, especially mainly during the transition years, and we do get them during winter, as we've seen. But I have to say this year's been a very out of the ordinary year when it comes to the amounts of cutoff low systems that we've actually seen that's brought heavy rainfall for parts of the country.
Okay, we're chatting to Annette Botha. She's a meteorologist at Vox Weather, and we're speaking all things cut off low.
Yeah, Annette, I've got to ask you this one because, there's a lot of information here, but again, when the last time we heard cut off low, people immediately think floods and disaster. Is this reaction justified, or are we maybe overreacting a bit?
I think we should always heed to warnings that's issued by the South African Weather Service, and there's a reason why they've issued a level 4 warning for the KZN Southern Coast. So Southern Coast. And that area might get up to 40 millimeters in the next 2 days. So this is not the amount of rain that we've seen with other stronger cut-off low weather systems. But we know that area is vulnerable, and we're seeing some amounts could lead to very, very localized flooding. And one thing about the system is that it can still change a bit because it's being fed from the warm water in the Indian Ocean. So we are keeping an eye on it. So that's why we're saying please heed.
That Mzansi flavor you didn't know you needed. Only on East Coast Radio.